Welcome to the Rise Up Network. I'm your host, James Carmody, and the Rise Up Network is committed to sharing those stories of America's servant leaders, those men and women that are out there in the community, in the marketplace, making a difference. We're now 5 years into this, over 250 guests, over 200 episodes, and it is my distinct honor and privilege to share these stories with you every single week, of those servant leaders that are really wearing it on their sleeve. I've got a great servant leader in studio with me, someone who is a veteran. They're also in the real estate space. They are a father. They are involved in their community. And through mutual friends of some amazing people, we've been connected. And I'm just honored and humbled that you would give us the time to come on and share with the Rise Up Network. Dave Panozzo, welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, James, for having me on. It's really cool to do this. And once again, we were just talking prior to getting on. It's like, hey, just one person needs to hear the message. That's all it takes.
Yeah, and that's really my goal for the show, is if we can motivate and inspire one person to stand up, raise their hand, and be a leader, or maybe not make that bad choice, make a better choice. So I really appreciate you giving us the time to come on today.
No problem. My story's kind of crazy. I'm 53 years old, married.
You look 40.
Hey, I'm trying to keep it right and tight.
There you go.
Been married for 30 years. I have two beautiful daughters. They're both serving in the Air Force right now. One's an officer.
You gotta be proud, Papa Bear.
Oh my God, so proud. I'm also a grandpa. Okay, I have a 2.5-year-old granddaughter and a almost 4-month-old grandson. So, life is very interesting. And I think as you go down this road of life, when you're younger, you're always looking ahead. Oh, when I'm 30, I'm going to be a millionaire. When I'm 40, I'm going to be a billionaire, or whatever the case may be. I'm going to own a Lamborghini when I'm 25. Like, all that shit is cool and everything.
Right.
But at the end of the day, now here I am, 53 years old, and I'm looking back going, I went through what I had to go through to get to where I'm at today. And I'm okay with that. And, it wasn't easy. I mean, I went through a lot of craziness, and I'm going to touch base on a couple of those things, but, normal childhood, nothing crazy there. Horrible student, barely made it through high school. Then I went into college.
And where did you grow up? I know you live in Arizona now. Did you grow up in Arizona? Or?
No. I grew up in northwestern Indiana. And then my dad got transferred and we moved to Columbus, Ohio. So I went to high school and I attempted Ohio State. It chewed me up and spit me out. It was a big party. But anyway, that's a whole other story.
Right.
So dropped out of college, and then I joined the military. Went into the Army, and it was probably the best thing I ever did. That was probably one of my biggest or my first big balls move. Okay, I went in the military, and everyone was like, "Why are you doing that? You're wasting your life." I'm like, "Screw you guys, I'm doing this." So I go in the military, and I wanted to be all you can be. That was the Army slogan back then, and really cool experience. Got stationed in Germany. Was my first duty station, and that's where I ran into this person called Kim. And that's my wife. One thing led to another. She was in the Air Force. I was in the Army. Started dating, ended up getting married. Got out of the service, and we went back to Columbus, Ohio, hung out there for about a year. And then we moved to Chicago for a little bit. And then we ended up out in Arizona. Now, by this time, we already have a daughter. She's almost 2 years old. I was in the car business. My wife was in accounting. She was in the corporate world, and we were just doing our thing. And once again, when you're doing your thing, you don't know what you don't know. Okay. And we started dabbling a little bit in real estate, flipping homes. She got her license. I'm still in the car business. And, we were making money. This was before the big crash, and it was all cool. Life was good. On paper, everything looked great. We were rock stars. Had our second child. And then here comes the crash. The crash wiped us out, okay? And right prior to the crash, I, was always in rock star mode, okay? Had a drinking problem, into drugs. One thing led to another, and I was at my lowest low. And so
Yep.
I decided to get sober. Okay.
Yep.
A lot of things led up to that moment, but I got sober. It was probably one of the hardest things I ever did. And between getting sober and then having the market crash, complete chaos, us losing our home, I mean, it was just complete devastation. Luckily, my wife was invited from a friend at the gym to, hey, do you want to list REOs? And she's like, well, what's REO mean? Bank-owned properties, okay?
Right.
And at the time, you know, we were struggling financially, and she maybe had 1 or 2 listings at the time. And what was crazy is that once she signed up, like 2 weeks later, she had 30 listings in her inbox. And it was crazy. Now, you know, that was at the bottom. This was, you know, bottom feeding at that time. I mean, it was rough. It was by no means sexy. You know, I'm going in, checking some of these homes, and they're destroyed and they're gross. And
Right.
it was just the ugly side.
And is this Phoenix?
Yeah. Yeah.
Phoenix, and what is this, like late 2008, 2009?
Yeah, right in that time frame. Just an ugly time, you know,
Yep.
during it, all of it. And so that's where she started to learn how to be a high functioning agent and be able to have systems and processes in place, because now this is going to catch up later on down the road. Okay. So super high level functioning agent, doing a lot, you know, and once again, this was a very rough time for all of us. And it got to a point to where, you know, even our marriage was getting super strained, and we decided to go our separate ways. So I'm sober, we lost everything, you know, now we're separated, potential divorce, just a shit show. And I ended up, it was my weekend one weekend to watch our daughter, because our oldest daughter was at college. I'm watching the youngest one. We had a split, you know, week type deal. And I got really, really, really sick. And my daughter called my wife that weekend and said, hey, you know, Dad's laying in bed, he's sick. He didn't even want to drive me to softball practice, because I made her walk like a half block to her softball practice. And I'll never forget this, you know, even though we were on the verge of waiting for the final paperwork to come for our divorce, you know, my wife comes over that weekend and says, what's wrong with you? And I was like 105 temperature. I mean, I was bad.
Sick.
I had a really bad case of pneumonia, and I didn't know it at the time. And so she ended up taking care of me, and still, even though we were on that verge of kind of not liking one another at the time, you know, that true love came in, and we ended up kind of talking after that point and working on things, and we decided not to get divorced. Okay. So, you know, sometimes through the better and worst, just like they say, it's like that was probably the worst of the worst, and we were able to prevail through it. And so, you know, that was a really, really cool, love you, babe. She just came in and said hi.
Sometimes, Kim, I know you're in the background. Sometimes a guy just needs to get sick as a strategy to bring the gal back. Yeah, see, there you go. You know, he gets sick to bring you back in. Just, I promise.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. And we don't always match. Today was just a strange day.
Hey, I'm not judging at all. Who knows? Maybe my wife has a gray shirt on too.
Right.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for popping on, Kim. You're great.
But once again, that's the piece that people don't want to put the work in. Okay. As bad as all that sucked, as horrific as our lives were, we still, I mean, up to almost that last minute, we were ready to throw in the towel, but we found this little squeak, you know, of daylight, and we made it work. So
yeah.
So now here we are, we're back together, and so this is probably like 2012, 13-ish, probably somewhere in there. Just a lot of crazy stuff's going on in our lives. I'm trying to reinvent myself. I started flipping homes again, and I was just, you know, I was still kind of missing something. I'm like, I feel like I'm leaving something on the table. And I'll be honest, like she always said, you'd make a great real estate agent. I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm a sales guy and I like the flipping homes. You know, I don't want a license. Well, really deep down inside is I'm a horrible student. Okay. So taking tests is by no means one of my strong suits. And so I really was kind of like ignoring the whole license thing because I didn't want to take the test. Okay.
Right. Just intimidated. I got to study. I got to take this thing. And if I fail, what does that say about me?
Yeah. And if you go back like 10 years, 12 years from there, even longer, I had this stock guy one time go, "Hey man, you'd be a great stockbroker. Here, take this Series 7's, test." And oh my God, that just blew me out of the water. So I had that kind of, in the background.
Right, you get that in your background, just saying, yeah, man, you're no good at studying. You can't do it.
Oh my God, I was being a big pussy. I
Right.
was like, I'm not going to do that because I'm scared. Okay.
Right.
So sometimes some of your greatest fears, getting sober, divorce, taking tests, these things, you sometimes have to just, pull on those bootstraps extra tight and, jump in and do what you have to do. So here I am. I take the test, I pass it, state exam, failed it once, twice, passed it on the third go around. Now I have my license. So here it is, May of 2016. I'm a full-blown real estate agent, and my wife and I started doing some deals. Now remember, she's been a lone wolf for her whole career. Now here I am, her husband. Now obviously we've worked through some things, so the husband-wife thing working together, we were way past all that. Because a lot of people ask me, how the hell do you work with your wife? I'm like, it's simple.
Sure.
She's my buddy, And what's interesting is that very early on, we made sure whose roles were what. Okay. So any husband and wife teams out there that are working together, that's the biggest thing, is finding out whose roles are what. And what do I mean by that? Well, I'm on the marketing side, sales side. She's on the contract side. So when it comes to certain things, we don't cross paths. She's really good at it and I'm not. Well, guess what? She's going to stay in that position. The marketing side, that's my passion. Social media, creating new business, that's my side of the fence. That's not her best suit. So guess what? She stays out of my lane. And I find that when we do have a little bit of an overlap, okay, that's where the magic happens. And so that was probably, and I don't know why we did it, but we took disc profiles right when I first started to find out, oh, you don't like it when someone rushes you or doesn't give facts and figures and bottom line. Where on my side of the fence, if you bedazzle me with, charts and graphs and all this foo-foo stuff, like my attention span is zero. I need to get to the bottom line. So we were really able to mesh together in dealing with business issues or problem solving and things like that. And that's been a godsend. Okay. So here we are, we're starting to sell some homes. We had a part-time assistant at the time. And then we brought on a mentee that we were mentoring. She came on the team and then a couple more. And so now here we are. Okay. And it's like 5 years later. We have been doing some really cool things. We've been changing lives. One thing for me now, once again, in my 20s, 30s, it's all about the money, the money, the money. Like now, for me to look around the room and know that I've changed some lives on our team, oh my God, like that alone is the juice, okay? One of our girls on the team, this past year was able to pay off all this extra student debt that's just been choking her out most of her life. Our TC just bought her first home and first brand new car. Another one, she was able to afford a rental property. And it's like, that's the stuff. Now I get it. It's like, now I get it. It's
so fulfilling.
Others.
Yeah, so fulfilling, so rewarding. When you see people around you that you've been pouring into and given opportunities to and standing for, take that next step, make that investment, buy that property, pay off that debt, and you see their life change.
It's unbelievable. Another gal that came to us last year, she was kind of like a listing coordinator / sales. She was doing so well in sales that we switched her over completely and she quadrupled what she thought she could make. I mean, that's the stuff. And once again, these aren't a bunch of single people on our team. these are single moms with 2 or 3 kids, or, family members that, they're the sole provider. And it's like, that makes a big difference, when you can change someone's life like that. And so now here we are. It's like, okay, we're doing some business. We're having some fun, we're changing some lives. We're bringing on new people. We're looking at, how do we scale this thing? And I'm not about having 30, 40 people on a team and having that kind of structure. I want 10 people. I want 10 professionals that can rise to the occasion versus just kind of sitting around waiting for a couple leads to come their way. Because I find when you surround yourself with that upper echelon type of person, okay, because I don't look at them as, oh, there are buyer's agents, okay? There are agent partners, okay? We're all partners on this thing. That's why you have a team, to be able to achieve more. And it's really, really starting now to transform into something bigger than ourselves. And it's a really cool thing to be able to sit back and be like, holy shit, that was only 5 years ago. So now it's like, well, now what's next, because then you start going down the rabbit hole going, well, if we could do this, what could we do if we did this? And so now that's kind of where we're at. And it's been really, really exciting. Yes, it's stressful. This past year with COVID, okay, that was a game changer. That really, this past year, with all the craziness that I've gone through in my life, I'm like, seriously, world pandemic shutdown? Like, one of the aliens going to just drop out of the sky like an Independence
Didn't even know what
Day.
the word pandemic meant 15 months ago.
Think
Right.
about the movies we've watched. I'm like, well, shit, if they're the fast zombies, we're all done. If they're the slow zombies, I'm good, okay?
Right.
But in business, I think what it taught me personally is you can't sit on the sidelines and point the finger. You just have to jump in and be that game changer. And that was the one thing that we did not hesitate. There was probably a meeting somewhere, it was almost a year ago, probably like the beginning of April. I sat the team down. I said, guys, I don't know what's about to happen, but is everyone at this table okay to go 6 months without a paycheck? And everyone looked around, they're like, I'm good. I can make it 6 months. I can make it a year. I'm like, holy shit, you guys are making too much money. No, but it was good to know that people weren't living beyond their means. So in other words, I'm dealing with a very interesting high level group of people that are on the team, okay? Because they have their shit together. And what was nice is that once we made that decision, no one ever looked back. And then all of a sudden, the rest of the story. It's been crazy. This last year has been completely nutso. Never in a million years would I think, oh my God, where's the inventory? How are we going to sell houses? Like, typically here in Phoenix, we have a 4 to 5 month, is a healthy market of inventory.
Yep.
We're down to 2 weeks. This is even worse than the toilet paper situation. I mean, so, once again, I feel the way business is being done today. We always used to do what's your 2-year plan? What's your 5-year plan? I don't know what's going to happen in 60, 90 days. I'll be honest. Who knows?
Yep.
Who knows? And I think this past year taught us to not get comfortable with that. And so I'm kind of grateful in a way that we were able to adjust so quickly to deal with it, because there are other agents and other people in our industry that sat by the wayside, pointing the finger, going, well, I can't do business because of this world pandemic. And it blows me away. So
yeah.
For once, in the right place at the right time, doing the right things to be able to help a lot of people. And it feels good. Feels good.
Well, you've gone through your trials and tribulations, and now you've got an all-star crew around you of high-level people that have individual high standards. And so you're all able to succeed at a high level. So you can handle challenges or bumps or anything that the market throws at you guys.
Right. Well, and I think, unfortunately, it's one of those, I'm starting to become a little bit of the older, wiser guy. The wisdom shit's starting to kick in. It's like, what? Wisdom? What's that? So So that's a really cool thing to be able to offer that support. And hey, here's some things that we've gone through. This is why we went this direction. So if you want to try it your way, go for it. But I'm letting you know that this is what happened to us. And why don't you use our failures as your
take
own
our lesson and learn
experience.
from it.
Yes,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yep. Awesome. Well, Dave, I want to back up, a couple steps, and I want to share a couple kind of pivotal moments along the way, right? One of those things is when you're first young on college, right? So you get in, you go to Ohio State, and you left Ohio State. Was that just all right, I'm not interested in class, I'm not mature enough? What was it that ultimately led you to leave?
I think I probably would have been better suited to go into like a trades type school, something that was more hands-on
More
instead of
discipline, more focus.
yeah. I never did well in school, sitting in school and watching a teacher up there, and then that concept was not me.
Sure.
Where I think like a trade school, something in the construction world or something, heavy machinery or something like that, to where it was both classroom and physical. I think that probably would have better suited me. That's why when I went into the military, it was that combination of both, which I excelled in. I was that kid in school that like, God, you're such a horrible student, but I was a great athlete. It's like,
right.
How do those two go hand in hand? Maybe I had a little bit of ADHD or something, who knows, but that stuff wasn't around back then. So it was,
Right. I think a lot of us in sales do, and I think something for, our network and our audience to really get, is there's such an opportunity with trade schools. I personally think there's going to be a gap with a lot of the trades that are being done. Whether you are a carpenter, a plumber, HVAC, roofer, like any of the trades.
Yeah.
As a society, we've gotten away from wanting to do those.
Right.
And we put multiple generations of young people through college. And I don't believe that college is necessarily for everyone.
No.
So the opportunity with trades, I think, is tremendous.
Well, I'll never forget, and take in mind, this was probably early 2000s, when I was in the car business. I knew everyone at the dealership, in the service department, the sales. So, you just know everyone. And I remember talking to one of the mechanics. He's like, hey, bro, you're probably not going to see me around much longer. I go, why? What's up? He goes, I'm going over to the BMW store. I go, why would you do that? He goes, oh man, you have no idea. He goes, those guys are making at the time like 90 to 100 grand as a mechanic back in the early 2000s. Okay.
Right.
Now, yeah, that doesn't sound like a lot of money, but let's fast forward to now. Mechanics in some of these, high line vehicles, that's no joke. Some of those guys are making $125,000, $150,000 being a mechanic. Well, it's not sexy. Okay. And so I think people frown upon that, but you got to remember, I came from a generation of, everyone in my family on both sides of the fence, they all worked in the steel mills in Gary, Indiana. Yep. That's what you did, and so I remember that it's okay to get your hands dirty. Okay. Yep. When I had laborious jobs of either, my God, I did roofing, landscaping, labor type jobs. You do the best you can, you know what I mean? So it's not beneath you to do something like that. But in today's world, oh my God, heaven forbid you ask your kid to go, sweep out the garage. It's like you're asking them to go walk across glass or something.
Oh, I was heartbroken. So, I'm a guy from Massachusetts, grew up commercial fishing, high school, college, helped pay for college, commercial fishing on the back deck of a boat. And I was home last summer and I was talking to my old fishing captain, and this guy had the best boat in the harbor. And it was like, when I was growing up, you wanted to work for Tom. Like Tom Bell was the guy. And he's saying, I can't get crew. I can't get guys who are reliable and stuff. So I go to my brother and I'm like, hey, what's up with Noah? This is my godson, my nephew. And literally does this could be, he's like, they're soft. He's like, he wouldn't do it. I'm like, beside myself. I got young boys, so I'm not there yet, but I'm like, you can go out and make $200 a day cash. Kids don't want to do it. They don't want to work hard.
No one wants, and I'm seeing it now across the board. Maybe it's because once again, the wisdom thing is kicking in. People don't want to get their ass kicked. They want it nice and easy. They don't want any friction. They don't want any turbulence. They don't want any pushback. That's not real. Okay.
Right. That's not reality.
And that's part of the entrepreneur mindset is, well, I'm going to do this. I don't know what's out there. I know it's going to be risky, but I'll figure it out. And I think that that's where, this past year, think about the things that started to thrive and the things that started to die. Who would ever have thought Uber Eats would just explode? Oh, world pandemic, people are lazy, bring it to my house.
I'll pay a premium for it.
Right. Just the things that are done. And once again, I think we're going to see some crazy stuff over the next probably 2, 3 to 5 years that are almost to the equivalent of, when you talk about Uber, you're like, well, we already had taxi cabs. Like, what's this Uber thing, right? Like, oh my God, what a game changer. They just reinvented something and made it look better and more, more economic or whatever the case may be. I think in the next 5 years, we're going to see some stuff that's just going to blow us out of the water.
I agree. Last couple of things that I want to touch on. One is sobriety. What would you say to someone that's listening to this that's, maybe they're listening and they're like, man, you know what? I don't know if I have an issue. I don't, like, what was the thing that for you that was like, all right, this is my flag in the ground. I can't do this anymore. What would you say to those folks that are listening to this?
I mean, for me, I did not know how to not be able to stop. It consumed me. Okay. Yeah. And I wasn't being a good father. I wasn't being a good husband. I wasn't being good to myself. And I think what happens is that you get to that point. Now, my low point might be different than the other guy that lost everything, that slept behind a dumpster. Okay. Like, everybody has their low marks,
Sure.
Knock on wood, I didn't, encounter that. But I think you have to take that hard look at yourself and who you want to be. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. But there's this whole other life out there that I never thought I would be able to experience. I didn't know how to have fun without drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
Okay. How am I going to have fun being sober? I'm having the most fun of my life now. Okay. And probably most of the most horrific things that could ever happen to me happened when I was sober. So go figure. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I was able to be a good husband, a good father, to my family.
Rekindle your marriage.
Exactly. Wow. And I also left out, during that horrific time with losing everything, I even had my mom passed away of pancreatic cancer. So, I mean, I just like crazy shit. Right. And so, being sober is a lifestyle. Okay. Can I still be around people that are drinking? Absolutely. Could I do that at the beginning? No. Okay. It's going to be 15 years in July that I'll.
Good for you. Good for you.
That I've been sober. And I tell you what, probably the first 6 to like 6 months to like that 3-year mark, those were the most challenging because you're learning how to live again. You're learning how to live. And once again, like my counselor said, Dave, all you got to do is just change one thing. I'm like, oh my God, what's that? He goes, everything. I'm like, oh.
You're like, thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, last, topic that I want to touch on, just because, you and Kim have really developed a skill at it. When I look at your team and see what you guys have been able to do is team building. Those folks that are listening to this, watching this, and maybe they're a one-man or one-woman band, and they're like, gosh, I'm terrified to make my first hire. Like, how am I going to make payroll? Or maybe there's just 2 or 3 and they're like, shoot, how do I double? Maybe speak to that a little bit.
I look at, you have to invest in your team. Okay. You have to put the time, the energy, and the money into it. If you're looking to go to that next level, this is where it's at. Okay. And it's scary. There's uncertainty. You don't know what to do. You don't know how it's going to go. Well, that's part of being an entrepreneur. Okay. And I don't care if you're in a shoe shining business or an ice cream shop or a multi-billion-dollar industry. it's all the same. You have to invest in good people. One thing that we like to do, we don't have an office, but we work out of our home, which is an office. We have a weekly meeting to make sure to get that FaceTime. Okay. During COVID, obviously we did the Zoom thing. And
yeah,
I tell you what, after a while, it got old because I could tell people still needed that human touch, to get together. We do some really cool team building things. We actually, a few years back, went on a skydiving deal, which was really, really fun. Everyone went skydiving.
Yeah.
Last summer, what was it, Memorial Day? Everyone was working really, really hard. So I surprised everyone and we flew out to San Diego and did a little yacht cruise and had some fun and jumped on a plane the next day. So
super fun.
Little things like that, little things. And yeah, that's over the top. But what about taking someone out to lunch and just shooting the shit with them and asking them, James, how you doing? And then you say, no, seriously, James, how you doing?
Yeah.
And then one more time, James, come on, what's going on? Oh man, and then you get them spewing out. And guess what? That's what it takes. You have to know where your people are at. If you don't know where they're at, how are you going to help them? And it could be something simple. There could be a problem at home, or it could be something that's going on with, a client, or it could just be something personal that, they're having a hang up on. That's why you're there, to help support them and help bring the best out of them. And that's really been something it's been hard, it's been difficult, but it's also been very rewarding when we do see the results of the byproduct of that.
Love it. Love it. I can tell that you and Kim care so much about your people. A lot of teams and team leaders don't think like that.
Because they just look at dollars and cents.
Yeah.
They just look at dollars and cents. Listen, that business model does work, but the longevity.
Yeah, probably a lot of turnover and a lot of dissatisfied team members.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
Dave, where can we find you guys? Parting words for our network. How can we keep in touch?
Yeah. I'm all across the place. If you Google the Panozzo team, you're going to see a bunch of stuff pop up.
The Panozzo team. Okay.
Yep. You can find me, thepanozzoteam.com. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook. I don't do Twitter. That's too much. I can't handle it. Or LinkedIn.
You and me both. Too much.
That's too much.
No tweet.
But yeah, you can find us anywhere. And please, if anyone out there, and I'm serious about this, if you're going through a fraction of what I went through, or if you're going through that ugly divorce thing, or if you're going through the fact of like you're on the fence of wanting to get sober, listen, I've talked to a lot of people over the years, and I will make the time for you. Okay, I promise.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate the generosity, and your leadership. Welcome to the Rise Up Network. It's been a privilege having this conversation. Folks, it's been Dave Panozzo, the Panozzo team. Google the Panozzo team. Catch up with them on social media. If you're in the Arizona market and you need a fantastic real estate team, I'm sure he, his wife, and his agents would love to sell a home to you. But folks in the Rise Up Network, remember, being a servant leader doesn't have to be this big, heavy burden. It can be as simple as sharing a smile with your neighbor, waving as you go to your car, showing some grace to that team member or that employee that maybe they're dealing with something that they haven't said yet, and just asking them how they're doing. Take Dave's example. Ask them how they're doing 2-3 times. Really get in there with them. But that's what servant leadership is all about. It's all about love, service, and caring, and showing people that. This is the Rise Up Network. Get out there and rise up.